Hello everyone, good evening, welcome to this Facebook Live. And I've just gone through all the questions, the ones that I've posted today, the ones that you have filled in the form the last week. And I have come up with the topic for today's live. Today we're going to learn about how can you explain about nutrition, about healthy food, junk food to your children. How can you help them start eating healthy food by making them understand about its importance? Okay. First of all, I want you all to be aware about a certain pattern or a certain pattern about how you explain about nutrition to your children, right? So understanding that pattern of what you follow is the first step to it, right? Some of us, how do we go about it? We just keep telling them and yelling at them sometimes, and that's the first thing. But secondly, we don't ensure if they understood or no. It's always just one-way communication. You just keep telling them, and they just don't seem to listen, right? So the first thing is talk to them about the difference between the healthy food and junk food, but ensure that they are listening to it, right? The first point is I want you all to ensure that they are listening. When I say that they are listening, just check if they are in the mood to listen in the first place, right? Talking about mood, maybe at that point of time they're like busy playing, or maybe they are hungry, or maybe they are sleepy, or maybe they're doing something else. Somehow their mind is not into this, right? So make sure you speak about the importance of it when they are ready to listen, okay? Just keep in mind that you need to have like a lot of patience, because the point is to make it work, right? The point is to make them understand. The point is not just to tell and leave. The point is you got to make them understand about the importance. Once this step is clear in your head, it becomes easy for you to progress further. You are going to have a lot of patience. You are going to find the right strategy to talk to them about it. But if you approach this from a point saying, oh, it's my duty to tell them, you will just tell and then that's it. The steps that happen after you tell them also matters. So how you tell them and how they are perceiving it, both of them are equally important. That is what I want you to focus on right now. First of all, I want you to be aware of the fact there are two components to this. First, you're telling. Second, they're listening. Okay. Now let's move on to the next important point, which is while you're explaining about the importance, make sure it's age appropriate. That means how you're telling, what you're telling, the way you're telling it has to be age appropriate. It means if you have like little children at home, don't give them lecture about how it's going to affect their health and stuff, because little children have no idea about what health means, right? So maybe you could, when your children are little, you could just have play some games with them, okay? Games something like, maybe you want them to have eggs, for example, okay? And your children are just refusing to eat eggs. So I think what you could say is, especially when they're little, like 3, 4, 5, that, around that age group, like just the kind of fun that you can have around getting them to eat eggs is ask them to just like jump and say, oh, that's it? Oh, that's all you can jump? So let's see if you can eat this egg, and if it, that's going to give you like an instant energy and more power for you to jump higher, right? So just play with them, just have fun, and once they eat it, and ask them to jump again, and once they jump, it's like, wow, I see the difference. Can you imagine the superpower of having eggs? Now, what if you have this every day? Let's try this again tomorrow, right? Shall we? Ask questions. And just do that again tomorrow and get them into this, the fun activity. And just over a period of time, they'll just, that becomes a habit, like having eggs on at least like an alternate days becomes like a habit to them, okay? So the point is for you to have fun. Make sure it's age appropriate. You cannot make a 4-year-old sit and give him a lecture about how junk food is going to affect their health. They don't understand that, right? Let's move on to the other important point. Okay, no, let's talk about how can you do this with older children. With older children, the best thing that would work is having like real strict rules and modeling eating habits. That means you model that behavior, so they see you or they catch you eating healthy, and once in a while allow cheat days. Okay, it's okay, don't be extremely strict. It's okay to allow cheat days, so let them have a little bit of junk. Something that works for us in our house is like we have an entire shelf in the kitchen that's full of junk. Okay, the chips and lots of biscuits and chocolates, and so it's termed as junkyard. Okay, so we call it junkyard, right? So now because it's termed as junkyard, so it subconsciously goes into my son's head that whatever is there in that particular shelf is junk, right? So even without me having to tell it consciously, automatically it happens. So whenever we go like grocery shopping, so we just come back and we're segregating, I just tell him, okay, can you keep this in the junkyard? That is all that is required for me. And of course he understands that, right? So again, I want to like specify a lot on how you got to focus on this term age appropriate stories, age appropriate approach. Okay, so the other next important point is helping your children recognize hunger cues, especially for little children. Of course this holds good for older kids as well, and holds good for us as well, parents. Understanding like this hunger cues becomes like is one of the easiest ways to kind of understand your eating patterns. Okay, so especially you can talk this with your children, saying when you're hungry, so when are you hungry? Okay, when are you hungry? Cues like maybe he starts screaming, he starts getting irritated for no reason, or he's completely exhausted, he doesn't have energy to like get up and do anything for that matter, or he feels extremely sleepy, right? Or he feels like eating a lot, like all of a sudden. Or a simple cue could be as soon as he's back home from playing, that's the time to just nibble on some healthy snack. So understand what your child's hunger cue is, and once you understand that, that means once you understand how your child behaves when he's hungry, you can explain the same thing to your child when that's happening, right? So whenever he's acting crazy and you think it's because of hunger, just tell them, I think just like a couple of dry fruits, you just nibble on a couple of dry fruits right now and that would help you. Just help him understand, I think you're hungry, what do you think? You want to try eating a fruit maybe and see if you feel better, right? So by asking questions during that incident, see, when your children are extremely hungry, the biggest mistake that we parents do is, look at you, how you're screaming, can't you understand that you're hungry? Of course they cannot understand, right? And that is why they're doing it. So once you become proactive in helping them understand their hunger cues, it becomes easy for them over a period of time to recognize their hunger cues, right? So you'll have to like constantly reinforce that. Once you tell this, maybe next day you can ask again, you seem to be upset, you seem to be cranky. Do you think it's because you're hungry? Do you want to eat something? Don't tell that you are doing this because you're hungry. Don't tell it. Ask it, okay? Let them come up with answers. Try this like a couple of times and they will start catching the cues, right? If you tell them, you know what children do. Once you tell them to do something, they do the exact opposite. So the best way to getting them to do things is by asking questions. Of course, it may go in both directions. They may say, yes, I'm hungry. They may say, I'm not. So you got to be ready, you got to know how to handle that. Once they say yes, just ask them what they want to eat. And if they say no, just rest it for a while, and then just say, okay, okay, let me know in case you're hungry, I'll help you with some fruits or something. Tell that, give them a cue of what they can do in case they realize that they're hungry. All right. So if you want to continue your learning journey, then I want you to click the link in the description box and be a part of my closed Facebook group called Parenting with Ease, wherein you can attend the Monday lives that I do every week. All right, I'm going to see you there. Take care.